Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the beautiful campus that is Williston State College. Thank you to the faculty, staff, community members, media for attending today. We have a lot of things happening at Williston State College, and we have 3 capital projects that will be going on simultaneously, and thought that today would be a wonderful time to provide an update on each of those 3 projects. The first project is one that we've heard in the media for quite some time, and that is the Crighton Childcare Facility project. And that one,
Sorry, technical difficulty.
way ahead of my slides here. And one more. One more. Perfect. Thank you. The Crighton Childcare Facility project actually started a number of years ago. There was a conversation between the college, the city of Williston, and Williams County to help move the needle in terms of childcare availability in the city of Williston because of the massive shortage there was for daycare. And so the current project, which is underway as we speak and a little over 60% complete, is scheduled to be able to house 70 kids at capacity. The work started in early June of this year and is already over 60% complete. J.E. Dunn is the contractor that is working on the project and is doing wonderful work. And they also did the work on the St. Joe's facility on Main Street. The anticipated completion date is August 4th of this year, and we have scheduled a ribbon cutting on August 4th for that facility. As part of that facility, we are partnering with Valley City State University, whereby they're going to be able to use students in their Bachelor's of Early Childhood Education program to do their clinical hours at this particular location. And so they will be here with us on August 4th for that ribbon cutting and sharing information about that program and how it will work. With that being said, I would like to turn the mic over to Janie Cox, and she will give information on the logistics of the childcare facility and some information that will be useful to community members that are looking forward to utilizing this facility. So Jamie, mic is yours.
Thank you. I couldn't get my printer to work, so I have my notes on my phone, so I apologize. I'm not trying to be rude with my phone. Am I good? Okay. Hi, I'm Janie Cox, and I am the owner of Bright Beginnings. That is going to be the new facility inside the Crighton building, and it's been a long road, and I am very, very excited about it. I think it's going to be a premier early childhood ed center here in Williston, something we definitely need. The building is looking amazing. It's going to be amazing. The playground, I just can't wait. I'm excited for the little kids out here. Are you excited to come visit us? Okay, come visit us. It's been a labor of love, this project. We first, my husband and I, first hit up economic development and started looking at buildings around town. What could we do? We worked with Keith and Sean Wenko, and then there just weren't a lot of options. And then COVID hit, and then that kind of slowed everything down. And then Economic Development Diversity Group put together this, this opportunity with the college and partnered on that and putting this building together and asked, put out that proposal to providers. And I put in for it. We had been looking for a building. We wanted to expand, and it was a good fit. And I was excited to be the chosen provider. And I hope to serve us well here. They asked me to share a little bit about how I got here. So I actually have a teaching degree. I taught for about 7 years, first in Wyoming and then here in Williston. I taught 4th grade at Rickard, and then I taught tech for the district and went to all the elementary schools. And then in 2015, we had our second daughter, and did not have daycare. It's the same story for a lot of people. We couldn't find a quality daycare, couldn't find a licensed daycare, really couldn't find anything. And I thought I would stay home for a couple of years and then go back to teaching once my kids were grown, or we found childcare, whatever the good fit would be for our family, and ended up getting an in-home license for daycare. I had enough teacher friends that needed daycare. I did that for a couple of years and it was working. We wanted to expand. We wanted to have more kids ourselves. So we approached New Hope Church. If you remember, about 10 years ago, they did their big remodel here in town and their expansion, and that's what they designed it for. They wanted that space to be used for the community for other purposes outside of Sunday when they use it, and they were great with it. So we've rented space, and I've ran Happy Families Daycare out of New Hope Church. It's been about a 40-child facility for the last 6 years. This will be my 6th year in New Hope. And a couple years in, people would ask me if I was going to go back to teaching, and I thought, I don't know, I kind of like this. And it's been really good. It's been really good to my family. It was a blessing in disguise to be able to work and be with my own kids at the same time. And now my baby is off to kindergarten next year. So I'm excited for that new adventure as well as he starts school. We've opened enrollment. It has started. It is live. I sent information to the first families I had on my wait list just this past week, and I'm working the way down that. Yes, there's already a wait list because that's daycare in Williston. And now I'll start advertising. So we'll see how that goes. We're looking for employees. Obviously, we're excited about the opportunities and partnerships with the students here. And we are looking at that August 4th opening date, but the ribbon cutting, and hoping to, with licensing and everything, get going here shortly after that. We will be providing care for ages 0 all the way through school age, hoping to expand upon that possibly next summer to offer some summer elementary care as well. We will be doing 1 full-time preschool classroom that's going to have 2 sessions of 3 and 4-year-old preschool a week, and then our 2 groups 2 times a week, and then 1 group of pre-K that your 4 and 5-year-old students entering kindergarten that following year would be able to attend. And that classroom will be taught by LaShawn Mallett. She's been a teacher here in Williston for about 10 years. She's a huge asset. I'm so excited that she's joining me. I really lucked out on her. She's going to be amazing as a preschool teacher, and then in conjunction with Valley City and bringing this program in so those students can come in and do their practicum. They can observe, they can be a part of this group, and we're just so excited for that and for those students. And obviously I have a passion for education, so I'm excited to nurture them and be there for those students as well, and running this new facility. We do have, I was going to share with you, working with everybody. I love that J.E. Dunn came up with the, I'm sorry, Ryan, I'm not going to remember what it's called, but it was your project statement.
Project purpose statement.
Project purpose statement. And I loved it because this is what it was. It was expanding the scope of local childcare and early childhood education through community collaborations. And so the groups that got together that worked on that, Williams County, the City of Williston, the college, Williston State, Williston Area Economic Diversification Group. I have to write that down, Ann, just for you, and Bright Beginnings, and us joining that team. And we're so excited about it. We're excited about that collaboration. J.E. Dunn, you guys have been awesome. JLG working with, you guys have been amazing, the whole group. We're excited about this process. I'll put a plug out there. We have a website now that's live, so you can go on, be added to wait lists. There's an employment opportunities submission form, all of that information. It is brightbeginningswilliston.com. You can find it there. Thank you.
Janie, in terms of the picture on the screen in front of you, that will be the completed look of the building. And you'll notice to the right is the remainder of the Crighton building, which, thanks to a generous contribution from the foundation, we will be completing the rest of that building to match the new childcare part of the building. And that'll be done also in early August. So the entire building will be the same color and will match at the conclusion of that. There's also some parking lot work that's being done to improve the flow of traffic around this facility. There will be an exit built on the east side of that parking lot so that people can drive around the outside of the building without having to do a U-turn in the parking lot to get out. That'll help with traffic flow both in the morning and in the afternoons of that. And in closing on this part of the presentation, I would like to again say thank you to the city, to Mayor Klug, to the county, and to economic development for investing in this much needed facility for the city of Williston. And we're excited as a college to be part of this for the next 20 years and beyond. So thank you, all of you, for your investments. The second part of our capital project discussion is a baseball softball complex project. And this project is being spearheaded from a fundraising perspective by our foundation director, Hunter Berg. And one more slide ahead, please. And this is a rough draft of what it may look like. This is not the final drawing for this particular project, but this is what we put together early on in terms of what we would like this to become. And in terms of the detail and the components of that, I will turn over the microphone to Mr. Hunter Berg, and he will share the details on this project.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hirning. Each one of these projects has such a great story of how it came to be. Janie, I want to commend you on doing a great job in explaining that story. I hope I can do as well as you did. But, you know, I think in this process, I've given this same speech to many of you. So if you're hearing it for a second or a third time, please bear with me. But, you know, I think this project has been a long one in its happenings. But finally, it feels like it's coming to fruition. But about a year and a half ago, I was sitting in Bismarck with a friend of mine from Williston, and we were watching a Williston Coyote softball game. It was supposed to be a home game, but it was in Bismarck, North Dakota, because we had that awful spring storm, and it kicked all of our sports out of Williston and onto different communities' playing fields. And as we began watching the game, he turned to me and he said, "We have to get turf in Williston." And I said, "You're right. Let's get to work on it." So immediately we came back and assembled a group of people, of interested users, ourselves as the college, the school district, Parks and Recreation, the summertime baseball and softball programs, a few others that we knew would be interested in helping this project grow. And we got together and we talked about turf. And it wasn't a question of if we need turf, it's when we need the turf as fast as possible. And everybody made a commitment to getting that done. What came about was a couple of questions. One, where would the facility be? This project is going to take place on Williston State College, but I want everyone to know that this is a community project. It is not just the college's fields, and we will never just treat it as only the college's fields. The school district, the park district, us as the college, we really worked together, and we didn't just decide it's going to be at the college campus without some discussion. It was easily thought that what happens in the future when we need 2 turf fields, 2 softball fields, 2 baseball fields? We're limited in space. But it wasn't thought to be the best location at the start of the project. But what happened is we all kind of went around the table, and we as a college are very fortunate to have a foundation that's able to make this project happen. The school district didn't think they could help kick it off the way we could. The park district kind of said the same thing. We all need to come in together, but we had the ability as the college and the foundation to put money towards this project to guarantee that it is going to happen. And so we brought that thought back to our foundation board, which we are all in favor of this type of project for this community, and we're more than willing to step forward. And so to do so, the foundation has submitted $2 million up front to put towards this project. And we've got a few pictures up here, and as Dr. Hirning mentioned, this is not the final product of what it will look like, but we needed something to show the legislators and for me to go out and start the fundraising. We weren't approved to construct the complex right away, but we were given approval to go out and start fundraising for the project. So this picture in front of you kind of shows the turf itself is one thing, but we plan to upgrade the complex in a number of different ways. One, right now, you and I could go out on that baseball or softball field at any time during the day. We could play softball at 3 a.m. if we wanted to, and that part is going to change. Once we put turf down, we'll put a secured outside fencing around it so that it will be a protection of our investment. Other than that, we're going to plan to upgrade the grandstands for better seating for our spectators. And then also, right now, we don't have permanent bathrooms. We don't have a permanent concession out there. That will change. We'll have that in place. The complex will become complete. It was always dreamed about when we built Raybon Field a number of years ago, about 12 years ago. But now it's finally going to come to fruition as more of a complete complex. I feel responsible for having to make this thing go. I screwed up. About 13 years ago when we built Raybon Field, we talked about doing turf at that time. And our coach said, we should put turf. I said, well, how much is that going to cost? $750,000. I said, are you crazy? We can't raise $750,000. But yet here we are today, 13 years later, asking for probably 4 to 5 times that. Construction costs have went up. It's just the nature of the beast. But at the time, we just didn't think it was possible. And I was in charge of the athletic department at that time, so I screwed up. So I'm going to make it right by raising all this money and getting this project done. I want to point out just a few folks in the crowd. Dr. Hirning's already mentioned the city. You know, initially in our fundraising process, we thought we'd have to come up with about 5.6 million, probably a little bit more in the end. The foundation would contribute to. We knew we'd need some partners. And so our idea was to approach those groups that I think every group in town goes to first, because the city and the county have been so gracious to this community. So those were our first asks, to get in front of the city, to get in front of the county. We're working with the school district closely. One of their concerns was, are you going to treat this as the college's field and not let the school district? We guarantee that that will not be the case. We have visited about plans in place so that during the early afternoons, the college will have its practices, and as soon as they're done, the school district comes right over and uses it as much as they'd want to. The games will coincide perfectly. I don't think there'll be a lot of overlapping. The one advantage that we tried to pitch to the city was that this is going to bring people in. Number one, for the last 2 years, the last 2 springs have been pretty rough on our spring sports seasons. We've had a lot of parents, a lot of families have to leave town to go watch what should have been home games. That costs us time and money of us going to other places when we should be playing right here at home. And it costs businesses dollars because we should have other families from other towns coming in to spend their money here. So we asked the city for their support. They came through in a big way. Through the STAR Fund, committed $250,000, and through the Convention and Visitors Bureau, contributed another $150,000. That was huge. Other projects in other cities have perhaps maybe gotten that much support, but I think our city always steps forward. Our county stepped forward with an additional $50,000. It's just tremendous. So I know a lot of the people from the city and the county are here. I think we should all give them a round of applause for all the support that he's given. The Williston Boys Baseball Committee, which does a lot of fundraising for many different things. We all know their work with the World Series. They also stepped forward with $100,000. So to have those major user groups and major benefactors step forward in that amount was just huge. Step 2 of the fundraising process was to try to get in front of some businesses and some corporate sponsors. Again, people who we know have supported this community so well. And now we're out there meeting with them individually and asking them face to face for their help with this project. We also had a couple of very generous individual families and individual donors step forward with other great gifts. So I can tell you this, the process is rolling. We haven't been as public as far as a mass marketing appeal, and we won't be until we get a better picture of what this will exactly look like. And that time frame is within the next 2 months. We're thinking September 1st. We'll have an idea of what this entire complex will look like. And I'll say this, our dreams have changed. I think when it first started, we tried to put a picture in our mind of what it would look like. To go around to the other communities and sit in front of their ball fields, we're seeing the great things that can be done. And now we want to not only copy what they're doing, but hopefully make it even better. Competitiveness in sports, competitiveness in our community and in our college is what drives us. We're going to grow. We're going to be better and better. And this is a project that I hope we can exemplify that with by thinking beyond what we thought was possible and take a look at the dreams and making sure they happen. I would entertain any questions. The project, I feel kind of bad. We're having a press conference and we're trying to show you what our idea of what would be in this complex. But I can assure you in 2 months, you're going to see a beautiful finished drawing from our architect about what this thing will happen, and it will pop and it will make it a beautiful, beautiful thing for our community. So with that, I entertain any questions, unless you were going to do that at the end. At the end? Okay, that'll give them more time to think about something like this. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Hunter. One other thing to add to this piece of the presentation today. With us today is baseball coach Mason Przybilla. And just in case you missed it, he was residing over the Region 13 baseball champions from this past season. And there's nothing nicer, exactly, that is worth an applause. There's nothing nicer than for how hard coach and those players work to be successful than to put something like this together and make it a reality. This year they traveled to Kansas City because we couldn't play at home. They traveled to Yankton and spent roughly 3 weeks in Miles City. Now, nothing wrong with Miles City, but We'd much rather, as Hunter said, we'd like to have them here in Williston as opposed to on the road. So exciting project. Thank you for leading that. And more news to come in the next couple of months. With that, we turn to the final project of the 3 capital projects. And this is one that is very new. And throughout the past 6-8 months, on occasion, I've spoke a little bit about this in the media. And it was an idea that started in September of 2021. I was hired in July of that year as the president here. And one of the first meetings I attended was an advisory board meeting for Sanford Health. It was over at the Arc. Some of you in the room may have been at that meeting. But they were talking about building a clinic in Williston. And the numbers that they were sharing in terms of the size of this clinic made me basically swallow deeply and say, oh my God, where are they going to find the workers? And guess who the only college is in town? Williston State College. And so after that meeting, I spent a lot of time thinking about what needs to happen. And so at our executive cabinet meeting that we meet every other Monday here at campus, we talked about this, about the need for healthcare training in the Williston region. So my VP of Business Services, Krista Lambrecht, and I put together a proposal to take to the legislature. And we started working on this in October, and the legislature met in January. So first we met with the House side, and we made our pitch to the House side. They liked it. Jumped over to the Senate side. We made our pitch. They liked it. And because they liked it to different degrees, it went to conference committee. And I'm pleased to say that it came out of conference committee with a 5-1 vote in favor of funding the building at Williston. 80% of the cost of the building is funded by our legislature. And one of those is with us today, Mr. Representative Dave Richter, Mr. Hattlestead, Mr. Beckedahl. Were all very, very prominent and assisting us down in Bismarck in making a pitch for this. And this is the message that we basically gave to the legislature, and all of you that live here know exactly what we're talking about. Number one, oil is currently flowing at 1.2 to 1.3 million barrels. That's a fact. In order for that to continue to flow at that level, the population of Williston needs to continue to grow. For that population to continue to grow, we need to expand healthcare. And we can't expand healthcare if we don't have a trained workforce. Those are my 4 bullet points. To the House, to the Senate, they liked that message, and as a result, they stepped forward and were very kind to the college and funded a large portion of our building going forward. One of the things we did during the time that the legislature was in session is we made a road tour of the region, went to all the major medical providers. Sanford Health had told me what they need in their advisory board meeting in terms of trained workforce. But we needed to talk to Watford City, to Sydney, to Tioga, to Crosby, to our local providers here in town, CHI, Chatter, Trinity. We talked to them, and we got a list of potential programs together that we will discuss very soon here and figure out what programs on that list are going to become a reality and what are we missing. Also during that time, we invited a group from University of North Dakota to come to Williston. And again, a number of individuals in the room were part of that meeting. We talked about our vision for this building. And the very first thing that they said they would like to bring to Williston was behavioral health. A couple weeks ago, I was at a behavioral health conference in Dickinson, and they shared statistics of North Dakota compared to the United States, Western North Dakota compared to the rest of North Dakota and the United States, and it's frightening. And if I ever needed a reason to punctuate the need for this building and this training, that did it right there. I won't throw the numbers out at you because they're that alarming. So bottom line is this: we will start work on the architect, then the contractor, and then the work begins. And we will reach out to UND to hopefully bring some behavioral health programs this way. One of the other programs that was mentioned was addiction studies. Our partner to the east, Minot State, has that program. We'll reach out to them to invite them to bring that program this way. And the other four-year schools in the system will also be invited to be part of this project. Let's fast forward to the schematics. Again, rough draft. This is not the final draft of what it will look like, but this is a draft of the potential from the south looking at the building, and this building will be located directly on the east side of Frontier Hall, right out here, right across the parking lot. Right on the east side of Frontier Hall is where this will be located. It is a 2-story, 40,000 square foot building, is what it's projected to be. What's going to be inside the building? Flip to the next slide. This is a little bit of a broader view. The first floor down here will house the massage therapy program, which we will relocate from Western Star to this building. And then the second floor on the west end will have an auditorium, somewhere around 150 to 200 seat auditorium. We don't have that at the college, so we'll be adding that. The rest of the building, you can see the walkthrough area right here, and then the rest of the building will be classrooms and labs. Flip to the next slide and we will take a look at that. This will be the first floor of the building. This entire west end over here will be the massage therapy wing, where they will set up shop. The rest of the first floor is going to be a combination of faculty offices in the orange, nursing labs in the green, surge tech lab, operating lab, and a number of other types of labs on the other side. And then on the very top right-hand corner, we will be building an ambulance bay to add a paramedic EMT type of program, much like WSC has in their building down in Bismarck. So that's the first floor of the building. Flip to the next slide, and this will give us the second floor. On the west end will be the auditorium. The rest will be faculty and staff offices here in the orange, and the rest will be the traditional classrooms for the second floor of the building. So in a nutshell, that is what we tentatively have planned this building to look like. Once we formally have an architect, once we formally have a contractor, then these plans will be changed somewhat. We will be adding things, deleting things, as well as the programs that we're looking at. And some of the programs, just to give you an idea, that were shared by the regional providers. One of the top ones outside of behavioral health was Surge Tech. Also talked about Rad Tech, respiratory therapy, addiction studies, medical assistant, phlebotomy, EMT, paramedic, were just some of the programs that were mentioned by the regional healthcare providers. We will try to create as many of those as we can as certificate programs, associate programs, and those that require bachelor's level training. We will partner with our 4-year institution partners in the university system to bring those programs this way. So that's a snapshot of the healthcare building as well as the other 2 projects. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. And so we will now open the floor to any questions anyone has on any of these 3 projects. Yes, sir.
So what was the time frame you're looking at for getting an architect and getting things done for the medical facility?
For the medical facility?
Yes.
If we can get everything into place, we hope to do some external groundwork very, very late this fall, and at the latest, as soon as the ground thaws in the spring. Timeline on completion, the rough estimate we've received so far was a 12 to 15 month project once construction begins. Other questions? I mentioned that our massage therapy program will be moving in here. Also, the nursing program will be relocating to this area, giving us additional space in Stevens Hall and in Western Star to add non-medical programs to the agenda. So I saw a hand there, please.
Is the University of Mary in on this healthcare part of it at all at the moment?
Not at the moment. We're at the very, very early stages of discussing programs. And if there are any programs that are being requested by the medical community that the four-year partners of the university system can't provide, absolutely, they'll have an opportunity to be part of that.
Have you recently heard from any of the medical facilities around here about the fact that you were able to secure funds on this and the excitement that we'll see this building here?
Great question. That's one of the pieces I forgot in my presentation. One of the things that Hunter and I will be doing is we will be doing what I like to call a naming road tour. So we're going to be going to not just the medical providers, but we'll be going to businesses, organizations, individuals in the region and providing them an opportunity for naming rights in the facility. For example, if somebody wants the massage therapy wing named after their business or their family with a donation, they can do so. If they want the Surge Tech Lab named after a family member or business, they can do so. One of the things that impressed me last winter during a trip to the University of North Dakota, we received a tour of their Nisler College of Business building. Every square inch of that building has a plaque on it where people donated or named a part of the building. Every classroom, every study cubicle, almost every chair has a plaque on it saying donated by so-and-so, sponsored by so-and-so. So that's what we're looking for this building so that the region can take pride and ownership in this facility, that it's not just a Williston State College healthcare training facility, but it's a facility that the region has a piece in. So that's what we'll be doing this fall and also in the spring. Other questions?
Yeah.
Here.
Go back to the daycare slide, if you could, please. The picture of the building. Could you talk a little bit about the outside of the building, the playground equipment, et cetera? That wasn't mentioned before.
Yeah, this area here inside of this fence on the west and south side of the building, that will be playground equipment. And the city through the STAR fund provided, it was 130,000, Mayor, for the playground equipment to finish off this particular project in terms of cost and equipment. And so that's the last piece that will be delivered later this summer, will be the playground equipment on that. And so it'll be the south and the west side of the building. Anything else on that, or?
No, it was, thank you. I just didn't want to have a picture of a blank slate there.
Other questions? Anyone?
How much was the medical facility total cost? And then how much did the college have to put in to fulfill the full price?
The total estimate on the healthcare training facility was 36.6 million. The amount that the legislature is requiring of local contribution is 8 million.
And the college has that, I believe is what you told me.
That 8 million can be in either cash or pledges or contributions, any of the above. And we have that secured, correct. Other questions?
I guess I do have one more question
Please.
for Ms. Cox.
Sure.
Yeah, so one of the questions I always ask the childcare providers when I talk to them about childcare here in the area is just the work on getting workers. I know that's probably one of the biggest challenges. If you're set to go here in a couple of months, not even, do you have enough workers to, I know you don't have a lot of workers probably, but do you have enough to at least get started? And
I don't have a full staff right now, that we're in the process of that, yep, and it will come with reaching capacity with the kids and hiring staff as we reach that capacity. I don't expect to start on day one at full capacity with a full staff, but building that up, hopefully being very, very close. That would be the goal, but I realistically, we might add to that a little bit as we go. We met with, partnered actually with Brandon, and we met last week to talk about kind of how we can put that forth to the students that are going into early childhood ed or elementary ed that want that experience, so that we can partner with the college to possibly find part-time employees that are working towards that as a degree as well. And we're putting together a hiring event to kind of come in and check it out, things like that. So we have a lot of things in place to continue to fill our staff needs.
Thank you.
I know it's a big thing right now, right? Yeah.
Any other last questions? Hunter?
Yeah, I think the question on the timeline of the medical facility made me realize that I probably didn't answer that question as far as the turf complex. Our hopes and dreams were to start this fall. The timing of it is probably just going to make that impossible, but hopefully May 15th, June 1st, we'll be starting on that turf complex. There's some pre-work that may be able to be done this fall. For the most part, that's a spring project. And so one more year of Teton baseball on the natural grass, and then the next year is going to be an artificial turf. So I also wanted to just speak on behalf of the foundation. The medical building is going to be a wonderful, wonderful addition to our campus and our community. But I think what excites our foundation even more is the programs that are going to come along with it. All of us colleges are battling for students right now. And so any chance we get to capitalize on an opportunity like this, where we have a brand new medical facility and the opening of the possibilities of new academic programs, is really exciting. With that, I will say that the North Dakota State Legislature also has a program in which we can go out and raise monies, and they will then match those dollars to make them go even further. That challenge grant operation that they fund is going to help us immensely in this addition of new programs. They expanded that. Used to be mostly for scholarships and some other educational infrastructure things, but they expanded that ability to go towards starting new academic programs. And I want to commend Representative Richter, who's here. I believe he either made that vision possible to the rest of the legislature, but I know that either he made it possible or talked about it enough so that it was a group effort. But to do that opens a chance for our college to start an academic program without such a financial burden up front. We can get help from these challenge grant monies. And so the $8 million that we need to come up with to build the building is one thing, but now our most exciting part is raising more money to start these academic programs, and that will bring in more and more students to our campus, which is what we're all after. A more vibrant campus, a more vibrant community, and a chance to get even more workers out into the healthcare field. So just wanted to point a couple of those things out.
Hunter? Back to the turf project. What's your plans how long is this going to take to build this thing? A year and a half or so? Or?
Oh man, Mary Lou, you might make me look like a fool here. I would say within 1 year that complex would be complete, and that's starting on June 1 of 2024 and completed by June 1 of 2025. I believe we'll be playing on artificial fields in the spring of 2025. Total completion. Parts of it will not take as long as others, but the full complex completion will be complete within a 1 year time frame of the start.
And your plans for your current athletic teams during that time, where are they going to be relocated to?
Yeah, we're fortunate. Next year, our spring season should be able to be played on our fields. Hopefully, the spring weather doesn't cause us to go other places. Once we hit summer, we're in the clear, so to speak. And the next fall, then we've always been able to partner with the Parks and Rec District in town. They've let us use Offutt Stadium since since our baseball program existed. So we'll take advantage of their facility in the fall, and then come springtime the next year, we should be good to go on the turf.
How many fields will it be similar to the same capacity now?
Yes, I probably didn't explain that clearly enough. Barb brings up a good question. How many fields? What we have out there right now is one baseball field, one softball field. The disadvantage is we're not going to be able to add more in this complex. The one facet that we do think is possible is to put a practice field outside of the two existing fields. It's drawn here in the shape of a rectangle. It's actually depicted to have a soccer component to it. That is not a finalized design. It could be, there's fence around it. It could be more of an open concept as far as an enlarged infield. It really will depend on our final design. But only the two full-sized softball fields and baseball field, and then also the practice field is intended. And all of these things are dependent on our fundraising. It's my job to get out there and raise enough money to make all these dreams happen. But right now, we've got a real nice vision in terms of one field for softball, one for baseball, and then that practice field. And I want to point out the ARC. You know, the ARC was such a monumental thing that happened on our campus, in our community. Look at our spring sports of baseball, softball, and how they can work together along with some other sports. But ideally, we have games happening here all the time. We have practices happening here all the time. But to envision 4 different playing surfaces available to be used is quite amazing. The 2 fields themselves, a practice field outside of these 2 fields, then the turf complex that's in the ARC right now. It really opens up the possibilities of all of our teams taking advantage of the practice times available because of this turf complex. Really exciting.
Thank you, Hunter. Good points. Any other questions before we close up shop? Any? Let me finish then by saying a sincere appreciation to every single person in this room, in this community, in this region that either has been a part of the conversation or will be a part of this conversation going forward. We will not add programs. We will not put anything into this healthcare facility without having vetted it with the healthcare providers to make sure it's needed and there's a demand for it. So as we circle back on naming rights, we once again will talk programs. Is this still what you need? Has it changed? Did we miss anything? So I thank each and every one of you for attending today. And this is exciting. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but it's worth every single second that we will spend making these 3 projects happen. A special thank you to Hunter and the foundation for their involvement in all of these projects going forward, and to all the faculty and staff at the college and our students that will deal with a little bit of a mess out here for a while once construction starts. Because when it's finished, it will be a pride piece for this community and for this college. So thank you all for coming today. If you have any questions, drop me an email, stop by my office on the 2nd floor of Stevens Hall. Come by, we'll have a Coke or a coffee. Actually, let's have a Pepsi, not a Coke. Okay. And we'll talk about it. If you have any ideas or feedback on anything we talked about today, please send us an email. Whether it's Hunter, Janie, myself, send us an email if you have questions. Don't guess. Ask us. We'll get the answers for you moving forward. Thank you again all for coming. It was a wonderful day, and we're excited for all of these projects moving forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.